When we talk about your health, you gotta look inside. Because there are a lot of things that go on inside the human body that you're never gonna see on the outside.
Health Awareness, taking charge of your health, is hosted by Dr. Valencia Battle on ICBS Radio, 111.3 FM, INNE, on Wednesdays from 10 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. As a health and spiritual motivator, Dr. Battle's goal is to help empower listeners to learn how to take charge of your health. Through increased health awareness, you'll be able to participate with your primary care physician by making informed healthcare decisions. Dr. Battle and First Class Transportation sponsor Flint, Michigan. Ask for your prayers and listening support.
Good morning. This is Health Awareness, taking charge of your health, and I am your host, Dr. Valencia Battle. I pray that through God's divine guidance, I can inform, inspire, and motivate us toward health prevention and health promotion so that we can live longer and in better physical, mental, and spiritual condition. In Jesus Yeshua's precious name, amen. This program is sponsored by the Great Lakes Baptist District Association Deaconess. Anyone who would like to join the Great Lakes Deaconess, please call 810-399-3414. We would be glad to have you, and we need you. This program is dedicated to the memory of my sister cousin, Mrs. Pamela Sue Staples, and my sister, Mrs. Gloria Jean Risen. They are my inspirations. Our sustaining scriptures are 3 John 1 and 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. And Jeremiah 32:27 declares, Behold, I am the Lord, God of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for me? The Flint water crisis still exists and remains a health hazard to us all. It now contains FAPS contamination. The Racer Company is performing the cleanup and state they are committed to keeping us updated. Also, they have informed us that they have found FAPS in other locales throughout the community. So we need to really remain vigilant. Also, they have announced that the water pods will continue. The distribution sites will continue beyond August. We don't know how far beyond that it will go, but we do know one thing, and that is this is an election year. Yesterday, our election was held, was held here in Flint, Michigan for mayor candidates. And our mayor persevered as the front runner, and then Sheldon Neely as the runner-up. So there will be a runoff in November, and it will behoove us in Flint to get out. Voting was so low. Yesterday was only 10,000 people out of 100,000. That is 1/10. That is so sad. But it also shows you the apathetic nature, mental nature, emotional nature of the people in Flint. They just don't care anymore. They have no faith in anyone that will lead us to victory here in Flint regarding the water crises, the economy, the rundown housing, the devastated community areas in this city. There is just no faith in anyone here. We don't have a leader that we look up to. We don't. We don't have a leader that we look up to. There is no more Reverend Dr. Avery Aldridge. And believe me, many of us that are Foss Avenue members and that are not feel it. We feel it, and we feel it very strongly. When you need to pick up the phone for a job, to get somebody out of jail, for some kind of help, hey, there is no one you can call on the other end and be assured that they will follow up or that what they do will be helpful. It is a shame we lack leadership here in Flint, Michigan. But our day is coming because God is faithful and we will remain faithful that he will bring us out. It it grieves my spirit, but it also brings joy to my spirit to know that so many people are leaving Flint almost on a daily, but certainly a weekly basis, because they are going for a better life where they can at least drink the water. How about that? Today's health topic is suicide. That doesn't seem like a health topic, does it? Well, it really is, because suicide is not something that should be in our health domain as an alternative to health prevention and health promotion. Suicide statistics in the United States of America are some of the highest in the entire world, and that is in 2016, there were 44,965 suicides committed. That was up 33% since 1999. In 2017, there were 47,173 suicides committed. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States of America. In 2017 also, when 47,000 people took their life, 1.4 million attempted. And in 2015, suicide and self-injury cost the United States $69 billion. Isn't that something? And then it makes you wonder why these legislators are having a problem putting forth a health plan that would save maybe $69 billion if they would put forth a health plan that would speak to mental health issues as well. Boy, oh boy. It's time for us to vote. Really, come on, people. In 2020, if people in this country don't get out and vote, and vote for change, there's something wrong with them. The age-adjusted suicide rate in 2017 was 14 per 100,000 individuals. The age-adjusted suicide rate in 2017 was 14 per 100,000 individuals. The rate of suicide is highest in middle-aged white men in particular. Middle-aged white men. In 2017, men died by suicide 3.54 times more often than women. I'm sure you can think of some reasons why men would die more often than women by suicide, why men would decide to take their lives. Well, one reason is that most women have children that they have to think about, leaving their children. On average, there are 129 suicides every day. Every day in the United States, there are 129 suicides. White males accounted for almost 69.67, almost 70% of suicide deaths in 2017. So of the 47,000 in 2017, white men accounted for almost 70%. In 2017, also, firearms accounted for 50.57% of all suicide deaths. Firearms, half of all suicide deaths. The others are hanging, pills, drugs, overdose. In 2017, the highest suicide rate, 20.2, was among adults between 45 and 54. I know you all were thinking it was younger, weren't you? You would think it's younger. Because you can see young people falling into despair and not having much hope, especially in the society we live today. But no, it's the people that are tired of it. Do you also see how the statistics have went up since our election? Our suicide statistics have went up greatly since our election in 2016. I'm just saying. The second highest rate, 20.1, occurred in those 85 years or older. People are getting tired of living. There used to be an old saying years ago, and it was in a song too. Some people, the old adage was tired of living and afraid to die. In the song, it would say, and I think, who's that song by? Sam Cooke or somebody said, they're tired of, but I'm afraid to die. I believe there's something greater on the other side. I think that was Sam Cooke. I can't get it all, but that was the gist of it. Some people are tired of living. It is so hard to live in this world on a daily basis today. Just a daily basis. We are bombarded. Look at what our weekend was like. El Paso, Dayton, even the president. Good morning, April, darling. The president even said Toledo, Ohio, not even knowing where they occurred, not even apparently caring enough to even get his locale straight. How awful. He's gone to El Paso and Dayton today. They do not want him to come to El Paso. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm telling you, we're living in a time, and I'm going to tie Trump into the suicide rate too. Well, I think I'm doing that now. Younger groups have had consistently lower suicide rates than middle-aged and older adults. In 2017, adolescents and young adults aged 15 to 24 had a suicide rate of 14.6. But that is lower than the adults, right? But that's not good. It's not good. People in here in Flint, Michigan, are committing suicide. Young black men are committing suicide. Higher than they have before. And then we'll talk about some signs of suicide that you need to look for. Because you know what? You don't know. You don't know how people are really feeling. Even those that have smiles on their faces, they could be contemplating suicide. In 2017, the highest U.S. age-adjusted suicide rates was among whites, 15.85, and the second was among American Indians and Alaska Natives, 13.42. Much lower and roughly similar rates were found among black or African Americans at 6.61 and Asians and Pacific Islanders, 6.59. Well, now I'm going to tell you my take on why suicide rate is lower in blacks, higher than it used to be, but lower. It's because, listen, we don't have a whole lot of time to think about committing suicide when we're trying to stay alive. Our ancestors had to try to stay alive, keep somebody from killing us. So if we're trying to keep somebody from killing us, we are not trying to kill ourselves, right? In Flint, even with the water, these folks are still trying to kill us. And what we have to know and what we have to be careful about is that once a person tries to kill you, they don't stop. They continue to try. So we have to remain vigilant. We have to sleep with one eye open. We have to watch everything now, everybody. April is saying suicide is a huge epidemic among young people. Yes, it is. And it's growing. And it's growing. And that leads us to these young white supremacist guys that did what they did this weekend and that are doing so much. To some of you, this morning, I sent out, and I wouldn't put it because he said a lot of curse words, so I wouldn't put it back here, okay? But he said, he said that he hates black people. Thank you, darling. April says she loved my microphone, and he says that he hates the N-word related to African Americans. Okay, he had a shotgun and he shot the explicit word people like Jordans. So he had a pair of Jordans, and I think it looked black to me, or was it in a box? I don't know, but it looked like a black pair of Jordans that he was shooting at, demonstrating how he would like to shoot. So I sent it to the FBI. I hope some of you send it to your law enforcement friends or anywhere. I sent it to the FBI and many members of the FBI. Okay. So please, let's send it to other people so that we can just remain aware of everything and everybody. I tell you, Lord have mercy. Up in Michigan, what I am finding is that 9 times out of 10, I'm finding Caucasian people are very nice. They hold the doors open at the gas station that I frequent all the time, because in summertime I want a slushie almost every day. And I'm finding that people are taken aback by this Trump person and all of the rhetoric that he's putting out there, and they're saying, not me. Not me, we're going for that. But one thing I want to say, and I know all of you have thought about this too. Thank you. It was a black box of Jordans. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yes, someone sent it to me this morning, and I sent it out right away. I didn't send it to everybody. I just sent it to about 40 people because I had to get ready for the program. But what a thing to wake up to, Miss Jackson. How about that? And all of you that I sent it to. What a thing to wake up to. Keith, if I didn't send it to you, I will send it to you in Hosea. Let me know, Keith. Because it's just really something that we have to now keep in our minds as much as these people every day. Life has been changed in Dayton. Life has been changed in El Paso. Life has been changed all over this world. And I'm going to tell you, that how many times have you heard somebody say that life is so hard now? Life is some people must say that they are so tired. And we're just inundated with this news around the world, around the country. And as April says, we must pray and stay watchful. We must pray without ceasing. Prayer shall continually be on our lips. And I pray all day. I'm praying. And I know the Lord hears our pleas. We're going to come out of this. But I tell you, if we don't get to stepping in 2020, if we don't try to encourage, drag, push, pull everybody we can to the polls to get this man out of office, we ain't seen nothing yet. We haven't. We have not seen anything yet. Can you imagine what 4 more years would be like with these people pushing, having these backdoor meetings about this white supremacy and all of the stuff that they're doing? Can we imagine? No, we can't imagine. Of course we cannot imagine. But we should know that they are ramping it up as we have never seen it ramped before. Because before, there was 1 lynching. There was 2, or things like that. Now it's mass murders where they're taking people down. And for these legislators, every Republican, black, white, blue, green, brown, it don't matter, should be voted out of office in 2020. Yes, I said it, and I can chew my cabbage twice. Every Republican in office, because the others that may be good, decent, are stepping down, should be voted out of office. They're ran by money. It's their pockets. They care nothing about us. Someone said to me the other day, and I totally agree, that until some of the legislators or their families are hit, are caught up in these mass shootings, or someone goes to one of their black tie affairs or the golf clubs for the white and elite, they will not hear us. They will not hear us. But I'm telling you, I predicted a few things. I predicted that when they killed Garner in New York, some police were going to start getting killed. My husband was taken aback by that. But you all remember, I'm a psychologist, right? A doctorate prepared psychologist, okay? There is nothing new under the sun, and the Bible tells us that. The nature of man has not changed. Self-preservation will rule. When you continue to kill us, beat us, mistreat us, it'll turn on you. It'll rise up. When you continue to beat your children, just keep beating them. And when they get older, they'll rise up at you, won't they? Oh, yes, because that is the nature of man. That is our nature. You can only hurt us so much, so long, it's going to turn on you. As the women that are in prison, a whole lot of women. What's that called? That program called with women that have went to prison, that are in prison, or what have you, snapped. A person will snap, and they'll turn on you. Even, remember the saying, the scaredest get the best? Keep on bullying somebody and see what happens. Bullies get it, okay? It's just amazing. So, among African Americans, Asians, and Pacific Islanders, American Indians, I've got to go back on their behalf, and Alaskan Natives, okay? Excuse me, 13.2%. One of the reasons that their suicide rate is high is because of depression. They are very depressed in Alaska, and because of the darkness, 6 months of darkness, okay? And I'm going to say something, since I have been there. It also could be due, in small part, to 6 months of light. Because I'm telling you, you don't get much sleep. Because by the time it gets dark, at about 3:30 in the morning, at 4:30 in the morning, the sun is piercing through your window. I went there a few years ago for a couple of weeks. And, I loved it. Oh, my God, Alaska is amazing. It's amazing what God did in that Alaska. And I went there in July. So I got there at my girlfriend's house. And I was waiting for it to get dark, to go to bed. And at 11 o'clock, it wasn't dark. We're used to it 9:30, 10 o'clock. It's dark around here. And 11 o'clock, it wasn't dark. And I said, she said, honey, you're going to be waiting a long time for it to get dark. Because it won't get dark here. It's only going to go to dusk, and then it's going to come back up. 3:30 in the morning, and it was dusk. Matter of fact, at 12 o'clock midnight, we went to Walmart. And got some things. We went to Walmart, and it was just dusk at 12 midnight. And so 3:30, I finally went to bed. And 4:30, the sun pierced me in the eye and woke me up. So they may not get much sleep, unless they're really acclimating themselves to the sleep. Their circadian rhythm has changed and all that, because after 6 months they have to change it back. So it's amazing. So then it stays dark for 6 months too. And that brings on depression. It brings on depression, and I can tell you that because in Michigan we have SAD that we have to fight every year, and seasonal affective disorder, because of we may go through the winter for 2 weeks and not see the sunlight. 3 or 4 days is nothing to go through in the winter and not see sunlight. So that affects you. Believe me, it affects you. I had some days that I had to really fight hard last winter because we went through so many days of no sunlight. Sun will just cheer you up. It'll just make you feel good. If you don't believe it, go to Arizona or one of these warm states, and people are they're just happy. They just feel happy. And And so that might contribute to it. Also, violence is high in Alaska because of the depression that they go through, and so women, depression, violence is very high among women, especially the American Indian women. They will stab you, they will shoot you in a hot second. You mess with them, they really do their husbands in. Every day on TV, I saw some woman had stabbed her husband. She had done something. I said, "What?" It's amazing. So in 2017, firearms were the most common method of death by suicide, accounting for a little more than 50% of all suicide deaths. The next most common method was suffocation, which includes hanging at 27.72% and poisoning at 13.89%. That would be poisoning by drugs. That would be poisoning by drinking something that they shouldn't drink, like Clorox or something. And so other means were 7.8% that they devised some other mean to kill themselves. When it comes to suicide and suicide attempts, there are rate differences depending on the demographic characteristics such as age, gender, ethnicity, and race. But however, suicide occurs in all demographic groups, as I've already said. In the U.S., no complete count of suicide attempt data are available. It is not. Many times people will commit suicide and you never know about it. For instance, when I was much younger, 20s, there was a woman that called us and said, "I've just taken a handful of pills. I'm going to kill myself." We're like, "What?" And so we sent the police to her house. She didn't even live here in Flint. We sent the police to her house. Now, they revived her. They took her to the hospital, kept her a couple of days. When a person does that, and then they let you know they did it, that's a cry for help. So we helped her. Okay, it's a cry for help. When people threaten to commit suicide, that's a cry for help. But anybody who talks about suicide, they're not playing. They have thought about it. And if you think about it, how many times do you go around talking about committing suicide? We ain't trying to die. We're not trying to take our own life. So you know that it's uncommon. It's unusual. You should always take action, even if only for observation. People may talk about suicide up to 5 years or so before they actually do it. You will also hear suicide come up in their conversations often. "I felt like committing suicide." What? When someone uses that word, I don't care how lightly they try to put it out, it's in their mind. It's in their mind. Always pay attention to someone talking about suicide, because you know it's not in your conversation unless you're suicidal. So always pay attention, and especially to young black men today. In 2015, this was the most recent year that complete data was available. Approximately 575,000 people visited a hospital due to self-harm, self-mutilation, from cutting themselves several times, self-mutilation, and from maybe slicing their wrists, trying to hang themselves. There was a man who tried to commit suicide. People don't normally know how to commit suicide. They just get something in their mind and they think it's going to work. Many times people that are suicidal may have tried to commit suicide, but they didn't know how to really make it work, and it didn't work. Let's go to station break and come back. I got a story for you.
Dr. Battle uses a holistic approach to teaching the 5 dimensions of health, which are physical, emotional, mental, social, and spiritual. In addition, Dr. Battle promotes a lifestyle that includes healthy eating, exercise, and relaxation. Back to Dr. Battle.
And we're back. Thank you for staying with me or joining. I am your host, Dr. Valencia Battle, and this is Health Awareness, taking charge of your health. Most of you know that I'm a nurse. If you don't, you all know now, okay? Registered nurse. Once there was a lady that tried to commit suicide. She took a gun, and actually this one might be better. She took a gun, and she put it right here, up under her neck, okay? And she pulled the trigger. And excuse me, that was her attempt to commit suicide. However, she didn't die. She was successful in shooting her nose completely off. She was successful in shooting her eyes out. She was successful in shooting up here and her mouth off, right? So remember that it doesn't always work. Yes, the mental health. I have a home I have 5 skylights in my house that I had put in. Tried to get one put in this winter, but it didn't work. Yes. Now, Miss Red is saying she think about it every day. What? You think about suicide every day? Girl, you need to call me at 810-399-3414. She says she is bipolar and she's very depressed. Sometimes life gets unbearable. And I say I can't pull up the rest that you said because if I do, I may lose you there. You really concerns me, Dr. Wheeler. She really concerns me. I am going to look into maybe start counseling again because I have women that have asked me if I could counsel them if I take insurance. Right now, I would only be able to take private pay, and people don't have money to pay. I know that, but because Dr. Wheeler, because there is a need. There is a need, Dr. Wheeler. There is a need for grief counseling that is in my spirit to do, and I'm asking God to just give me a vehicle that I can do it at. Somebody's church, somebody's something. Help me, because we have a lot of grief in this city, but we have someone that's saying, I think about suicide every day. Oh, honey, you got to call me at 810-399-3414. And today I was supposed to have a card with my number on it. I'm sorry, I will have it there next week, right in the middle. We've got to do something. So from my lips to God's ears and your ears now, all of you, help me to think of a way that we can do this. Dr. Wheeler, I do have a source that will fund me if I can get a venue to do this service for people in our community. I have also been to some funeral homes asking if they would allow me to counsel, at least one counseling session to families in grief, and I'm going to have to follow up on that as well. Because, in Flint, we're hurting. We're hurting for a lot of reasons, but also because of the shootings that we have here, not mass, but there have been, but shootings that we have here at such a high rate and frequency. Every weekend, some young people are getting killed here. Every week our funeral homes are just loaded. Our funeral homes are so loaded. There's one person that's building another big funeral home. Oh, my Lord. We have to keep praying. Prayer works. We know that. Based on this same survey, almost 1% of adults age 18 or older made at least one suicide attempt in 2017. She's saying that that's the majority of my depression, is that of all the death in your life, yes, especially after my mama passed away January the 19th. Oh, so sorry to hear, honey, and we're praying for you. I know your mother's death. A mother's death is something that is so impactful. We're praying for you. We will lift M. Red Jackson up in prayer. And yes, Deborah's saying we're praying for Flint with the gun epidemic that are killing our young people. I'm telling you, Flint, honey, it's not just about the water. It's about all. People are mad in Flint. They are angry. And anger breeds violence. And it can be inbred where it goes back in. And it results in suicide. And it results in taking someone else's life as well. I didn't finish my story about this woman. I remember her first name, too. Okay, I remember first and last name. Ooh, I was highly impacted. So what they did, they gave her eyes back from the eye bank, right? This took a process, okay, for over a year. And I took care of her a lot of that time. So I'm telling you, that was depressing. But however, remember that she can walk, talk, and everything else. They made her lips. They made her lips and her nose from her vagina. Lips from her vagina. You can understand that, right? Her nose from her buttocks. And they did some on her thigh. They took some skin from her thigh. They made this woman back up, okay? They put that woman back together. I asked her, would you ever try this again? She said, no, I wouldn't, for two reasons. Of what I'm having to go through now and the fact that it didn't work anyway. Because if we don't know, but we can imagine that if a person is trying to commit suicide and they wake up, that went bad, but there's a whole lot of psychological implications that would go with that, right? Absolutely. Approximately 1.4 million adults, that 0.6% translates to, that try to commit suicide over the age of 18, and adult females reported a suicide attempt 1.4 times as often as male. But remember that although women try to commit suicide more often, women committed suicide successfully much less often than men, right? Because men will usually take a gun and just blow it away, or take a car and kill themselves, many times killing others too. And so many of our youth try to commit suicide. In my nursing career, there was one year that quite a few young ladies tried to commit suicide. One lady tried to commit suicide, and she got a surprise ending. You don't just try to commit suicide, go in the hospital and think you're going to walk right out today. Not today, you're not. You know where you're going? To the psych ward, where you belong. Going to the psych ward. She found out she was going to the psych ward. They didn't even leave her in Flint. They sent her to Saginaw. And she was, I don't want to go. I said, honey, that's the consequences for what you did. You tried to commit suicide. And at school, in the bathroom, and everybody knows it. They told on that girl. Now, this girl was being bullied at school. And so she tried to commit suicide in the bathroom. Also, she was a young African-American girl. I think they were in the 9th or 10th. I don't think 10th grade. I think 9th grade. And at Northwestern. And many times, people on the internet, young kids, will commit suicide. Isn't that heartbreaking? Because they've been bullied at school. Which will lead me to the mamas and the daddies. Remind me to talk about the mamas and the daddies later. So, approximately 2.4% of all students reported making a suicide attempt that required treatment by a doctor or a nurse. For those requiring treatment, rates were highest for black students. I just told you this girl was black. Black students get bullied in mostly African American schools a lot. Yeah, so don't think that black kids are not bullies too. It's a shame. Every day, approximately 129 Americans die by suicide. Every day. Every day. So look at what's happening in the United States. 129 by suicide every day. A woman is killed every 13 minutes in the United States. So a house is broken into every some seconds in the United States. Look at what's going on in the United States. They call us a civilized country. Really? Really? Depression affects 20 to 25% of Americans age 18 in any given year. Suicide took the life of almost 45,000 people every year. Almost 45,000 every year. But lately we have been going up. In 2017 there was 47,017. So, that's it. Only half of all Americans experiencing an episode of major depression receive treatment. Yes, people do not get treated for depression for several reasons. They won't admit they're depressed, and the doctors don't recognize their depression. You only go see the doctor for 5 minutes, usually. So what can he assess in 5 minutes as far as depression? Nothing. It takes longer to give you a depression inventory, which I think doctors should do once a year with your physical, but they don't. There is one suicide for every 25 attempts. Every 25 attempts, one is successful. There is one suicide attempt that is successful in every 4 suicides among the elderly. And we've just said those 85 and over have a high rate of suicide. 80 to 90% of the people that seek treatment for depression are treated successfully using therapy and medication. CBT works very, very well with depression. I wanted to make sure that I told you there are 20 states that are high in depression. Suicide, per 100,000. Let me run through this right quick. I think it's important. At the bottom of the list is Tennessee and Missouri at 13.7. Kansas at 13.8. Florida, 14.2. Arkansas and Vermont tie at 14.2 and 14.3. They tie. 14.2, I'm sorry. Florida and Arkansas tie. Florida and Arkansas tie at 14.2. Vermont and Utah tie at 14.3. Maine is 14.5. Oklahoma 14.7. North Dakota 14.9. Idaho 14.9. Kentucky, Mitch McConnell State. He probably contributes to that. It's 15.3. I was being facetious. Sorry. Oregon 15.9. Oregon. It rains a lot in Oregon too. Just noting. Arizona 16. My favorite state. 16 in Arizona. But you also have a lot of Indians there. Okay, so we're going to be Alaska, Arizona, and attribute a lot of that to the Indians as well. They get the sunshine, yes, but Indians still suffer depression, and Indians have a high rate of alcoholism. Alcoholism definitely leads to depression and can lead to suicide. Alcoholism. Colorado, 16.7. Nevada, 18.4. A lot of that is because of gambling, and people lose their shirts, their house, everything. Families. Wyoming, 19.3. I don't know much about Wyoming, so I can't say. All I can say is that their suicide rate is high. So something's going on in Wyoming. I passed through Wyoming and it looks kind of brushy, New Mexico, 20.4. Montana, 20.5. Alaska, 21.8. And that's the highest one, Alaska, at 21.8. When I was in Alaska, being that I'm a master's prepared social worker, they tried to get me to stay and work with these people. But I told them, I got to go back to the not United States, but and it's not like Hawaii, the mainland, because you can drive to Alaska, so it's not over the water, but they can more, stay the north, I guess. I just couldn't stay over there, but I love it. It's so beautiful. I'd like to visit there again someday. So, lesbians, gays, and bisexuals are 3 times more likely than straight kids to attempt suicide at some point. You would imagine that as a young person, they get bullied a lot. Talked about, taunted, and all of that. Medically serious attempts at suicide are 4 times more likely among LGBTQ youth than other young people. My husband, it was something going on big on TV about the LGBTQ community. And my husband said, LGBT, because not always did they put the Q with it. And he said, what is the Q for? And I said, queer. He said, it ain't for queer. I said, he thought I was being facetious. I said, it is for queer. And he said, you remember that movie, Queer as Folk? And he said, yeah, but that's not what it stands for. So don't challenge me. I will pull up my phone. I will pull up my internet on you. And I did, and I told him, and I spelled it all out to him. He said, Lord have mercy. Yes, LGBTQ is for lesbians, gays, bisexual, transgender, and queers. Right. So you may think of queer one way, but it's not funny. African American, Latino, Native American, and Asian American people who are lesbian, gay, or bisexual attempt suicide at especially high rates because it is so frowned upon in those communities. I mean, you're talking about being ostracized. But it's better today. It's better. Thank you, Lavinia, cousin. It's better today. We're coming around. 41% of trans adults said they have attempted suicide, and 61% of trans people who were victims of physical assault had attempted suicide. We got a long way to go to become a civilized nation, I'm telling you. Lesbian, gay, and bisexual young people who come from families that reject or do not accept them are over 8 times more likely to attempt suicide than those whose families accept them. And we understand that, don't we? Of course, your family. Each time an LGBTQ person is a victim of physical or verbal harassment or abuse, they become 2.5 times more likely to hurt themselves. Because people make them feel less than, worthless, and they can lead to hopelessness and helplessness, which leads to suicide. I want to say something about the mamas and the daddies of these young folk that are going around doing these mass killings. If you don't know more about your child, if you're not keeping up with your child 18 or over, who cares? If you're not keeping up with your child, a child that you raised, that you should know more about than anyone, what they will do and what they won't do. A true mama knows what her child will do and won't do. Oh yeah, many times they'll say, I know my child wouldn't do this. You don't know what your child would do. But that's true. But what I'm saying is you ought to know their capabilities. Is my child capable of this behavior? If you don't know, you don't know your child. Whether your child is grown or not don't matter. You should keep up with your child enough to know what they're up to. Find out what they're up to. Know their friends. What I'm talking about, when they're grown, it don't matter. What are they up to? Communicating with your child every day, or at least every other day, or at least know what they're doing if you're not talking, you know. My oldest daughter lives next door to me. My baby girl lives next door to her. I talk to them almost every day. But if I don't talk to them, guess what? I know their comings and their goings. Now, I may not see them because my house is twice the size of theirs because of additions. So I'm in the back, in the office here, and my bedroom suite over there, family room, and then the rest of the house. So I may not see them because I'm not looking out the window much or in that part of the house. But one would tell me, I just saw her leave, or I just saw somebody. Or if I want to know what's going on in the neighborhood, my oldest daughter next door, we call her Miss Kravitz. She can tell you everything. If she miss it, you better believe she wasn't at home, or she might have been in the basement washing her hair or something at her salon. But set up as a salon. But that is the truth. Now, the fact that we feel rejected or outed, ostracized, brings forth the feeling of not wanting to live or get. I can't push to see more because I might lose you if I push something on that screen. So let me see the rest of that, please. And that's a fact. However, if you're talking about we as a black race feel rejected and ousted, and I'm saying ostracized, downtrodden, and what have you, let me tell you, we're still doing good. I just gave you the statistics that we are among the lowest people that commit suicide. Why? We ain't got time to commit suicide. We're looking over our shoulder to see what that joker is trying to do to us. Right? We are strong. We are strong. We are capable. There is no power that you can find when you look at a group of black men, especially if they have suits on. My God, you talk about the power. What do you think these other folk are concerned about? They know the power. They know of the power between black and brown people. If brown people ever get the wherewithal to come over and be a part of the community of color, okay, then, so look at the division. You see this guy, I want to call his name right. I want to call this guy's name. Okay. They have the common names. Lopez, but I don't think he's Lopez. I think is he a Lopez? What? I don't want to say it wrong, but he's a pundit or a political person, and he gets on TV all of the time. He's Hispanic, and he gets on TV talking about the Hispanics all the time because they do not want more Hispanics to come here, because a lot of these Hispanics that have been here for years and years and years, and now they think of themselves as in with the Caucasian people, affluent Caucasian people, if you will. And they look down on their people that are not well-to-do, rich like them, affluent like them. Oh yes, that's what's happening. And those are the groups of people that not only voted for Trump, but also got their other people with a lot of rhetoric, which is what? Nothing but persuasive talk, to join, because Trump's team paid them to bring their people in. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If there's a Hispanic other than these people I'm talking about, other than the House Hispanics, okay, House Hispanics, if there is another Hispanic, and I know I'm on my horse right now, that votes for any Republicans in 2020, shame on you, and you will get what you got coming. Because if they are put in or left in, or Trump is put left in 2020, we ain't seen nothing yet. We have not seen anything yet. And I tell you, it's something. But we were talking about race, about suicide. There's a young man, well, he's not so young anymore. He's in his I would say early 60s. He tried to commit suicide, okay, and he lived, and he ended up being paralyzed. Hi, nephew Kevin. Hi, darling. I was talking about you the other day. You need to hit at me or call me sometime. I miss you. And yesterday I was talking about you to your Aunt Liz. And he did not die. He went in the bedroom, mom in the house, and shot himself. So I had him to come to my Job Corps class where we did suicide to talk. I taught healthcare at Job Corps to talk to us about it, because they had a lot of different opinions of what they thought about healthcare, this and that. And I said, I want to dispel some of those opinions you have. And I brought him in. He talked to them. He really provided a rude awakening for them. And when asked why, thank you, when asked why he committed suicide, and he said, because I was selfish. Because suicide is not only a cowardly, but it's also a selfish act. It's also a selfish act. When you leave people behind that love you, whether that's your family and or friends, co-workers, or whomever, that is selfish. You bring a lot of hurt onto people because you decided to take your own life. We do not have the right to take our own life, no more than we have the right to take the life of others. Suicide, there is no provision for suicide. Does God forgive if you commit suicide? Do I believe that if you ask God to forgive you, you're about to commit suicide, that he will? Of course. We have a forgiving, loving God, yes. But what about all of the people that you left hurting, that would be left hurting, that has to try to go on and make it in life, especially when these men commit suicide? And we said that age 45 to 54 was the highest number among whites that they commit suicide. They're leaving families. They're leaving wives with children. They're leaving jobs, livelihood for those people. They're leaving a whole lot, yet they decide to do it. They do it just as readily as they did in the 1930s Depression. They went and jumped off a building or anything. And you'll find if a white man lose money and lose his money on Wall Street or whatever, he'll go and commit suicide. Well, it's just not right. It doesn't make it right. It's still not right. And so suicide, in my opinion, is not an option. Suicide is not an option. And if you know God, you know it's not an option. Because if you have a personal relationship with Christ, you can feel his love for you at all times. And if you call on him and you really want it to run warm, you want to have that really warm feeling in your body, you just ask God to bathe you with his love. And he will do that too. Because that can help you sometime if you're feeling low. Because there are lots of reasons today to feel low. I know that. But let's hang on in there. Let's hold on to God and let's pray. Let's have prayer continually on our lips. I want to say a happy birthday to my granddaughter, Antoinette Tony, who had a birthday on August 5th, which was Monday, and to my son-in-law, Eric, who will have a birthday with us tomorrow on August 8th. I want to thank you all so much. I want to ask all of us to please remain vigilant and watch our surroundings, because people are on the loose, on the wild, crazy, crazed, or what have you. And we have to remain vigilant, watch our surroundings, and watch what people say for suicide. Watch for any suicidal talk that people are doing and such that you know of, and ask people to get these people some help. Thanks to all of you in the United States and around the world. Special thanks to those listening in Australia, Hawaii, Canada, Jamaica, France, and Africa, for your listening support, your encouragement, and most of all, your prayers. We know that there is mighty power in prayer, as the effectual, fervent prayer of the righteous availeth much. This is Health Awareness, taking charge of your health. I am your host, divinely led by God. Until next Wednesday, from 10 a.m. to 10:45, to 11. As you can see, we go to 11, and the clock has struck. And on Saturdays from 12 to 1, there may be other days, I'll let you know. I am broadcasting to you through ICBS Internet Radio 111.3 INNE, Los Angeles, California, and from Facebook Live and Periscope. And on my site, there is a link to how you can go straight into our radio broadcast 24/7. Remember, every action you take is a seed you sow. And every seed you sow is a harvest you will reap. Let's sow good seeds so we can reap a good harvest. Love yourself, love others, and always put God first. Please pray for me as I pray for you. And bye-bye for now.